Lloyd Brown,
Hello, Steve.
Why Wells Fail, your show. How you doing, Lloyd?
I'm all the good. Getting ready for Christmas, one of my favorite, not my all-time favorite holiday.
Yep. Yeah, things are winding down. Things are, people are planning on what they're going to start doing for next year. Our topic today is like, who do we blame when a well fails? Who's to blame? Well, why is this important to you, Lloyd, and why is this message something we're going to cover today?
Well, it's really important because if you don't have a process that established why you did what you did, how do you go back and do analytics on it and understand what were the mechanisms of failure? So historically, and quite frankly, probably quite a few times, the chemical guy, the chemical company is always asked, "Hey, this well's not doing what it is. What'd you do wrong?" Or there's a problem with pressure during the fracking process. It always, the finger of the pressure pumping companies always point to the chemistry guys. And it's been a pattern and a habit for a very long time. And what it does is it shifts. It's the desire to shift blame. And if you don't have a process way of doing your completions, how do you go and look at what's working, what's not? What are the analytics behind that? And that's why it's important. It's super important. And what was the expectation up front? Is it based on other well performance in the area? Based on what is the science? What is the foundation for the expectation that the well didn't meet and now it's a failure?
Yeah, you brought this guy in. We trusted him, and he recommended this, and this well didn't do like the other wells. So let's fire him and get a new guy. But what does that solve?
It's that old paradigm, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. And I don't want to, this is not about throwing stones. It's about recognizing the craziness of our industries and even to some degree in our lives. You think about it, if you don't understand what caused the failure, how do you fix it?
So this decision on what's going on downhole is one of the most important decisions you're going to make in the success of this well.
And understanding the mechanisms, understanding and having something that you can truly measure and understand, hey, did we miss something? There's a process. And, we talked about this in the past, Steve. Jason, who's a pilot that I'm very fond of, he introduced me to the concept of the normalization of deviation. And that, for everybody that's watching today, that is where you have a process, a series of numbered steps. And for some reason, you choose to skip one of the steps. And guess what? There wasn't a negative outcome that day. And you're in a hurry again, and you decide, hey, nothing happened bad last time, I'm going to skip it again. Eventually, your new normal is deviating from that standard. Well, standards are and processes are our friends, because when there is a failure, it helps you go back and understand, did we skip something in the process? Did we miss something? Or do we need to evolve the process? And it goes from a mechanism of learning when you have that ability versus, Steve, it's your fault. We changed this. You started managing this. and now it's gone to all the heck, and it's your fault. And nobody wins on that. It shuts down the creative thinking and the problem solving. It is really the ultimate question, why, i.e. the name of our podcast.
So the Pathfinder process was developed over a period of time to address this very issue, to turn it from a guessing game to hey, this has always worked in this situation, so it should work again, to being able to actually address each well uniquely.
No, that's a great summation. And it's treating each well, its geology, as unique, and recognizing those different variables. Like I've shared with you many times, we have 5 mechanisms of failure and 3 key measurements of the geology that we look at. So 3 to the 5th power is 242 different ratios of these mechanisms that we're measuring to in our predictive model and our predictive algorithms. And to do that, you need to have a constant. And so when we start looking at how we do the math and how we are predictive and how we don't want to go in and normalize the deviation, we want to stick to the process, because there are days that wells underperform, and we need to understand, did we miss something? Was there something in the process that deviated from the standard, or do we have something new that we just learned?
This Pathfinder process is so powerful that it's patented.
That is correct. And that's the wonderful thing. The math has been validated through Germany. We talk about that a lot, but the Germans are extremely rigorous, and so the science has been vetted and found to be completely novel, unique, and therefore that's why we were provided the process patent. And the other day, we talk a lot about products. In life, we like products. We don't like process. Process isn't sexy. It isn't, everybody wants to have, look at this new whatever I've got. Well, you get hung up on that, like Shelf Flow, a product that's a result of our process. Always having to steer the conversation from about the product back to the process. The product is just what that specific well needs, and it's designed for it. But the process determines that, and that it's really a more difficult mindset. It's kind of like, I've got this wonderful Mac. We don't talk about the operating system behind it, right?
I was in Germany in a past life, and talking to this guy who's watching him build this garage, and they were very deliberate about how they were doing it. And I was comparing and contrasting as an American, how they do it different. And I remember talking to him, and this is years ago, and I remember he said this is going to last for 100 years. I remember when he said that. We're building this because it'll last 100 years. And I just thought every action that he's taking is to that aspirational standard. Right. So that impacted every decision about, and I was going, man, that's overkill.
We're going to steal that, Steve, because that is our aspirational standard. I mean, ultimately, our aspirational standard is for a well to produce the maximum amount of resource that it possibly can for the longest amount of time. And in this case, we're looking for a 20 to 30 year asset resource, but it's only that if it doesn't have a lot of systemic problems that are created during the completion process. And so, again, we've got, I can't wait to bring out the studies. We just hired a third party to go in and do all the analytics of the results that we've had in this process, parts of this process have been in place since 2013. We didn't know what we didn't know at that time. We didn't have the math, we didn't have the science, but we're now able to go back and look. And when we're looking at 2, 3, 4 year windows and comparing the performance of the refined wells versus non-refined wells, we're consistently seeing 30, 40, 50% higher ultimate returns over those timeframes. I mean, it's huge. And we've got one, 10 well study that said that, but that's just 10 wells. Now we're in the place where we're talking about thousands of comparisons. And in statistics, as your number gets bigger, what happens? The certainty gets higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the larger the pool, and early next year we'll be sharing on this podcast some of those results to be able to go back and help people understand why it's so important that you measure it. And again, we're a short-term thinking people, and if we don't have a process, it's real hard to go back and remember what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so many times companies look at the result and the type curve of their well in a 6 or a 9 month fashion, because that's when the decline curves for a non-refined well really kick in. Ours don't kick in for significantly longer, but you get used to this pattern, and that pattern will lie to you. So you need to look at things, and we're just learning this over a much longer period of time than what we have historically.
I was kind of struck today. I was reading an article on the price of silver per troy ounce now is above what a barrel of oil is going for. Okay. And it just hit me, all of the pressures on that barrel of oil being produced. And when you talk about a 30, 40% increase and optimization of the well, that's very timely for how this industry is under attack to be more and more efficient.
Yeah, and we, on the surface, we can't be any more efficient. As an industry, we've created an unbelievable manufacturing process. The only place is to now go and maximize the return on the resource. And that's what we have. We have the patented, proven process that is predictive, that will give you the return and the production from your resource that you're looking for.
So if you can't get more per barrel, then you have to address other areas to grow that return on there. And that's what you guys are bringing, is a
absolutely
not only, hey, this is a good idea, this is a patented process idea, which a process that's followed is a business principle. I mean, it's
absolutely,
that's how successful businesses operate. They figure out a template and then they optimize it. And that's what you guys are bringing to this conversation that didn't exist before.
That's correct.
So these studies that you're excited about, that's amazing. Over 1,000 wells.
Oh, there's one study, 1,600 wells, another study, and these are geographic wells in different areas in the Eagle Ford, in the Permian Basin, and we'll be doing the DJ Basin as well, where we have a higher density of wells that have used our process. You're looking at between the ones that we did and the comparison wells, probably going to have statistically north of 5,000 wells to review.
So, when you think about, all right, you guys developed this Pathfinder process, and I don't know the answer to this, but if if you were going to go learn something and lift weights, you would go to Venice Beach. If that's where everybody's in the zone, they know how to lift weights best. Is the Permian Basin and all around the world, is that the place to really earn your chops and earn your reps? And is that where the most, you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, well, it's the highest density in the unconventional horizontal fracking world. It's got the highest density of any place in the world. If you went and did a rig report right now, you're going to see that north of 50% of the active rigs in North America are in West Texas and eastern New Mexico. And that's the reason it's the most prolific oil field in the world at this time.
So to go and learn this, develop this thesis, to then get it patented in this this area of the world, and then now be able to apply it in the other areas of the world, you're way ahead.
Well, I would hope to think we're way ahead. But it's funny, Steve. My whole life I've been in a hurry. With this, we've got to do it right. We've got to be very systematic, very disciplined. Because as I've learned, and we talked about, you only have one reputation in this life. And rightfully, my reputation in the past has been damaged. And so we're really, and Craig, thank you. Yeah, beginning the end in mind. Thank you, BJ Services, for being a Covey 7 Habits. One of the greatest gifts they ever gave the folks that worked there was using the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People as a business culture. And that's one of the rules: begin with the end in mind. But as we're looking at what we're doing, Steve, by beginning, and I think Craig just gave a great prompt, I'm thinking about what it looks like 5 years, 10 years from now, and the processes and the way that we measure our impact. We're setting that bedrock foundation for that today, with the end in mind on wherever this takes us, whether it's in the Middle East, it's in South America, if it's in Africa or Australia, in Asia, it doesn't really matter. The process will work as long as the rock says it will, the geology. So it's really agnostic. It doesn't, the process doesn't care where we are. Doesn't care if it's in the Permian Basin or if it's up outside of Denver, or if it's in North Dakota or up in Canada, or if it's somewhere in Saudi Arabia. It just doesn't care. The process is the process.
One of the things you talk about is protecting the reputation of the folks involved. This process provides an actual way to do that. Why is protecting reputation? You've mentioned that often. We've talked about it just a little bit, but I think let's cover it right quick.
Well, one of the things that I've learned and continue to learn utilizing EOS from the book Traction is building processes protect our teams. Because when failure happens, and it does, it gives you the ability to go back and see if the process was followed. And if it was a team member that did something that missed the process, we get to go and teach versus shame. You know, history's full of shaming people for failing. And it's almost always the people that are pointing the finger that it's their responsibility because they did a poor job training. And so when we come back to thinking about protecting reputation, it's my responsibility, our team's responsibility, for everybody that represents our company and the companies that choose to work with us is, number one, to build processes that protect everybody's reputation. And but as we build these and protect the reputation of our employees, automatically they're the ones serving our customers, right? So now their actions will protect the reputation of our customers. And if we're protecting both of those reputations, the company and my reputation personally are protected. But it's got to start there. It can't start with me worrying about me. The why is take care of those that take care of you. Goes back to the golden rule, goes back to the safety rule, and it goes back to trust. And so, we're pounding the heck out of process, right? We're talking about this, but it's all because that is our foundational goal. The first three rules that Refine has: trust, give trust, earn trust. The safety rule: you don't go home at night, nothing else matters. And rule number 3, the golden rule: treat others as you want to be treated. In doing that, I want somebody that's going to protect my reputation, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great ties a bow on this conversation. We start off when wells fail, who's to blame? And we're moving it from who's to blame to where in the process can we improve?
That's right. What can we learn? And guess what? Sometimes the most impactful consequences are when there's a big failure. I remember in the 80s, there's a story about the CEO of IBM, and a guy back then, this was like a $500,000 failure. And somebody went to the CEO at IBM and he said, "So you firing the guy?" And he goes, "Why would I fire him? I just spent $500,000 to educate him." What a wonderful way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't thinking about shaming the guy. He was like, "No, I don't want to lose that life lesson to continue to grow our company." That's the same thing for us. We're going to learn from, those failures. The only failure that we can't overcome is an intentional violation of safety. You can learn from it, but it's really hard to overcome the loss of trust when that happens.
Mm-hmm. All right. Excellent conversation. I'm excited for Refined. This your mission now is to convey the value of this process. And I think that's going to be very successful. Imagine the countries and other operators in all these other areas that are going to be attracted to this, because it makes sense. It feels right. Feels right. You're not having to pick which horse is going to win this race, right?
Right. Yeah. The big thing is, and again, I can start thinking really big, and I'm really good at vision, but I want to really focus on the people that have given us the gift of their trust today, and focus on them. The other opportunities will present themselves as we do the right thing every day.
Speaking of, if someone's listening to this, they want to talk to you, connect with you, figure out what this looks like in their future.
Lloyd.brown@refinecompletions.com, and then @RefineCLloydB on Twitter, and also on LinkedIn. So
that's right. All right. We'll see you next week, Lloyd. Good job. We're going to run some reruns. We're going to run the best of for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that being the case, let's be sure to wish everybody an amazing, wonderful Christmas, celebrating the birth of Jesus, and he's my personal savior, and just excited about what the new year holds for us, and wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Amen to that. And that's a wrap.